Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Colette. Discover the world. Guided travel since 1918.
Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday, wherever you happen to be. As you just saw, we are coming to you from Monaco and the Forbes Travel Guide Annual Global Summit. We did this here last year as well. Obviously, lots to talk about. I was lucky enough not to have flown from New York here. Otherwise, I would still be in New York. As you know about the weather situation there, we'll talk about that as well. But first, let's get into the news. And of course, the events in Mexico that you saw evolve over the weekend. With the shootings and the firefights in Guadalajara, in Puerto Vallarta, the fires, the violence, the cartel violence following the killing of one of their leaders by Mexican authorities. A lot of questions being asked, a lot of fear, the worst four-letter word in travel that starts with F, so let's get into it. The good news is the airports have reopened, the flights are back on schedule. Everybody who wants to get out can get out, and everybody who wants to go can still go. It's returned to normal, quote unquote, but let's put that in perspective as well. The incident that happened, or I should say the incidents that happened, were certainly not unprecedented. There is cartel violence that's been happening in Mexico for the last 25 years. I've seen part of it myself, but it doesn't stop me going to Mexico. Historically, cartel violence is usually gang versus gang. Visitors and tourists are not targeted. This is one of those instances where it went out into the streets, which is highly unusual. Again, not unprecedented, but highly unusual. But I want to put this in some kind of a time and place perspective as well. Many, many years ago, I was literally in the smack dab in the middle of the big shootout at the mall in Nairobi in Kenya. You may remember that terrible incident. A lot of people died, literally dodging bullets. I didn't go there to cover it. I happened to land there and walked right into it, and then ended up covering it for CBS. But the point is, that during this 3-day terrible situation in Nairobi, if you went 4 blocks away from where I was standing there, people were going about their business. They were going out to the Masai Mara. They were going out on safari. It was business as usual. You have to put that in context with the powerful visual images that you just saw over the last 48 hours. And they were indeed powerful. I mean, you can't ignore that. So here's my suggestion that I want you to follow. Whether it's going to Mexico or Massapequa, Long Island, it doesn't matter. You need to read the State Department advisories in full. They tend to be painted with too broad a brush. And remember, there's still 4 do not travel advisories for Mexico in place now. But remember, Mexico is 32 states. And what really qualifies as getting on an advisory? If an American cruise ship passenger has her purse snatched in Cozumel, I don't think that warrants a State Department advisory. She could have her purse snatched in Cleveland, probably higher likelihood. So again, you've got to put it in perspective. I'm not being cavalier here. I'm not being insensitive. In fact, I'm trying to be very sensitive to the real on-the-ground frontline situation. If you were to fly back to Puerto Vallarta today or to Guadalajara, you wouldn't find any incidents whatsoever. This was a matter of violence sparked by the capture and killing of one cartel leader. In fact, one of my favorite shows on TV right now is El Chapo on Netflix. It really sets the stage, but it doesn't stop me from going to Mexico. As some of you know, I was just in Los Cabos 6 days ago. Nothing happened then, and nothing's going to happen today. So I want you to put that in perspective, and then don't always just read the U.S. State Department advisories. Go one step beyond that. Read the advisories issued by the British Foreign Office to their citizens. I happen to think they do a better job. And then, and Mexico is a good example of this, there are very few destinations that don't have an English language published newspaper, either daily or weekly, that you can access online. Look at the last 2 months worth of issues, read them. And then you'll be able to make an intelligent decision based on all those inputs as to whether or not you're going to go anywhere. And that applies to Mexico as well. So obviously we're going to monitor the situation. When you look at the impact, the economic impact and the economic driver that travel and tourism represents in Mexico, The government has no sense of humor when it comes to this because it is so much a part of the stability of their government is the economic impact of travel and tourism. I can assure you that if history is any indication, the clampdown against the cartels will even be stronger now to be able to provide more safety for visitors. And so put that in perspective as well. All right. Obviously, as situations develop, we will continue to cover them and give you different advice if different advice is merited. But right now, there's nobody really stuck in a hotel in Mexico that can't get out. There's nobody trapped. They were sheltering in place based on the advice of the U.S. Embassy. But the airports are open. The airlines are operating on their regular schedule, unless they happen to be going to New York or New Jersey or Boston, which brings me up to my next topic up for bids here, and that's the intense weather situation on the East Coast. As of 8 o'clock this morning, there was a 48% cancellation rate at JFK, 45% at LaGuardia, 49% at Newark, and a whopping 56% in Boston. They're literally digging themselves out. 2 feet of snow. I know this for a fact because my driveway remains unplowed in Long Island, but of course, I happen to be lucky enough to be in Monaco right now. But if you're holding reservations for flights Sunday, Monday, or today, you know you're not going, don't wait to rebook. Rebook immediately because the flights tomorrow through Friday are already filling up quickly, if not already full. If you're holding a reservation for tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, don't give up yet. Don't cancel. There's a reasonably good chance that those cancellation rates, pending no further weather developments, will reduce to operate easily. So stand by on that. But this is a bad storm. There's no doubt about it. And the worst problem is not the airports. It's the roadways. It's being able to get out on the streets and get to where you need to go. There's a reason why there was a travel ban in places in New York and New Jersey and Connecticut, because those roads were essentially impassable. And that's what, there's snow removal and then there's 2 feet of snow. And that's what we're dealing with right now. But there's a reasonably good chance that by 6 p.m. tomorrow, assuming no more weather, they'll start to get back on track. So we'll watch that carefully. The third item up for bids today is the crazy thing that happened over this weekend, which nobody saw coming. The DHS announced it late Saturday that they were suspending TSA PreCheck and global entry, that's U.S. Customs and Border Protection, as of Sunday. It made absolutely no sense because the reason that they gave was it was because of quote unquote staffing issues. Let's put this in perspective, please. The last government shutdown, which was a full government shutdown, you had air traffic controllers working without getting paid. You had TSA agents working without getting paid, and the rest of the government shut down anyway. And what happened? It was during a much higher travel period in terms of volume of passengers. And not long after that, air traffic controllers started calling in sick. Now, they were already understaffed. Think about this. Of 313 air traffic control facilities in America, 311 are already understaffed, right? They're already forcing their air traffic controllers to do mandatory overtime, the one job in the world that nobody should have to do that. And that was before that last big government shutdown. Now, in this government shutdown, thankfully, it doesn't apply to the air traffic controllers. They're working and they're getting paid. It only applies to DHS, and that's TSA, U.S. Customs, even the Coast Guard when you think about it. But in terms of travelers, it's TSA and global entry. But when they announced they were suspending it based on staffing issues, on Saturday, there were no staffing issues. The TSA agents got their last paycheck, which is a partial paycheck last week. This week would be the first time they would get no paycheck. But they were still working. Nobody was calling in sick. Why would you announce staffing issues when there were no staffing issues? The only possible reason, and I'm not saying it's true, but I'll suggest it, the DHS was trying to do a punitive act to get Congress's attention to start refunding the DHS. And we all know the reason why this is all hung up is because of ICE. And that's not been resolved yet. So what did the TSA and the DHS do on Sunday after they announced on Saturday they were suspending PreCheck? They walked it back and said, no, PreCheck's back. It's okay. No news yet on what they're doing with global entry. But the ludicrous thing about global entry is, by the way, it's not ludicrous. It's the best government program I've seen in decades. It works, right? Who wants to stand in line for 11 hours after an 11-hour flight? Here you get to clear customs in less than 2 minutes. It's all a biometric reading. And then you just clear one customs agent saying, welcome home. So why could there be a staffing issue there if you're only talking about one customs agent at a DHS global entry point? It makes no sense. You're going up to a kiosk, which is doing a biometric reading. It clears you in less than 30 seconds. And then they match you to your name to the customs agent at the entrance or the exit, and you're done. So this is not about somebody not showing up for work. Makes no sense. So we're going to continue to investigate that. Now, having said that, if the government shutdown or the partial government shutdown continues this week, then you may have a situation in which a lot of TSA people call in sick. If that's the case, let's see how they adjust. But with the announcement they did Saturday made absolutely no sense, and I think you all agree with that. I think Congress agrees with that. I even think members of the TSA agree with that. So let's see what happens. All right, but in my interpretation of it, it was a punitive act without portfolio. So we'll move on from that. Let's say hi to a couple of people here. Linda's saying, hi from another chilly day in Naples. We'll see you in Fort Lauderdale. That's right. I'm speaking there this coming weekend. It's a short stay for me here in Monaco. She says we'll be returning to Monaco at the end of March. Any new discoveries? Well, you know what? Monaco is still one of the smallest countries in the world next to the Vatican. In terms of square footage, it's really tiny, and it's still compact and manageable. But I use Monaco as my hub, not my final destination. I use it for my hub to go to Nice, to Cannes, to much good. I'm thinking about my favorite port city. I'll think about it in a second. Very close to here, and of course to go to Ez, to go to San Remo, to go to Cap Ferrat. It's worth it. All right. More importantly, at this time of the year, it's not full. It's not crazy. So you'll enjoy it. Okay. Priya saying hello, watching from Chicago. Hope you're doing well. I am. Thank you for asking. Mary Louise is saying hello from sunny Tempe, Arizona. We know that. Tim saying any updates on Southwest going to Iceland? Not yet. They're still working out the kinks of check bags and seat assignments. But if Southwest is going to go to Iceland, they may partner with an airline. It may not be a Southwest airplane. I'll let you know more as soon as they make that announcement, but they haven't done it yet. Colleen is saying all countries have issues, and Jalisco is dealing with a doozle of a crisis at the moment. This too shall pass. I can't wait until things are settled and once again be able to return to the warm, welcoming Mexican people. Colleen, I got news for you. You can return now, as long as you follow my advice about situational awareness. Jeff is saying, hi from Santa Monica, stocking up on tequila. It's not that bad, Jeff, although cheers to you. All right. Kristen's saying, so much going on here in the U.S. and internationally. You're right. Mike is saying, great hotel deals in Puerto Vallarta. Thanks for that sense of humor, Mike. Tim's saying, how is Spirit not just still flying, but bring people back to work? Well, here's what happened. And this, by the way, applies to Spirit, to Frontier, or any operation in travel or any other business. If you're shrinking the business to save it, 9 out of 10 times, you kill the business in the process. What happened in Spirit's case, they had to shrink because they couldn't afford the lease payments on their planes. So they gave back half the planes back to the leasing companies. They furloughed a lot of flight attendants. They're still trying to operate their schedule, and they woke up to discover they furloughed too many of them. That gave them a schedule crisis. They had to cancel a lot of flights. Now they're recalling many of those flight attendants to try to get back on track. We're monitoring that. What's happening at Frontier? A similar situation where they're trying to shrink the fleet. I'll follow that for you and let you know what happens. But both airlines are continuing to operate. Okay? Gina's saying hello from San Diego. You got it, Gina. Mike says, ooh, Monaco, you must be rich. No, Mike, I'm just working. I'm only here for 2 days. If it was 3 days, I'd have to mortgage the house. Okay. Robin saying hello from Williamsburg. Hope everybody's safe. Michelle is saying, hoping to fly out of New York this weekend. Oh yeah, you'll be out. Unless there's another weather front coming in. I'm telling you, I expected a much higher cancellation rate today in the 60s or 70s. It wasn't. It was in the 40s, the high 40%. you'll be flying this weekend. Okay, from Linda. My sisters-in-law are on the Delta flight from LGA to Fort Lauderdale this Thursday, departing at 7. Any advice for them? Yeah, they're on the right flight at the right time, because that means that the flight that they're on means it came in and it overnighted the night before. Here's how you figure that out. Get a flight app called either Flight Radar 24, flightaware.com, or Flighty, Flighty. As long as you know your flight number, they'll tell you where the aircraft is that's related to your flight, right? So the aircraft number, the tail number of that 7 a.m. departure that you're on Thursday morning, they'll tell you where it is on Wednesday night. And if it doesn't get in Wednesday night, which it would normally come in an overnight at LaGuardia, you're not leaving Thursday morning. You get a heads up ahead of any kind of electronic alert you might get from the airline. That's how you do it. Lorena's saying, nice to catch you live. Delta told me I can only book my January flight 331 days from the day I depart to return home. She even told me that day is today. This morning I tried to book it, and the return date is all blacked out already. Are you talking about 2027? Tell me more. Gina agrees with me that DHS announcement was a punitive act. Tamara's digging out in Connecticut. Sue is not. She's just saying hi in Bellingham, Washington. Thank you, Colleen. It's Villefranche. That's my favorite little port here in the south of France, and well worth it. All right, Jim and Harriet. They're usually number one, but they came in today from Richmond. Hello, Jim and Harriet. Katrina's saying hello from Alabama. Jeff, I haven't forgotten you. You're going to get that email from me, I promise you. Mike wants to know, where am I speaking in Fort Lauderdale? At the Broward County Convention Center. Here it is right now. South Florida, that's February 28th and March 1st. That's this Saturday and Sunday, right there in Fort Lauderdale. So I hope I see you then. Tim wants to know, what happened with my lunch auction? Did you ever have it, and where was it? The answer is yes, we did have it. There was a winner, a wonderful bid that went to a great cause, Operation USA, and that lunch happened on location when we broadcast and did our television show from Death Valley, California, at a place called the Oasis. Speaking of that, we'll give you the coordinates. That's posted online right now. Our special piece that we did on hotels of the past on the Oasis in America's hottest location, literally Death Valley, California. Okay. The reason why, I see. Lorena says, yes, it's 2027. It won't show me any days available on the return date. Yeah, because it's got to be 330 days from there as well. So give it a couple of days. Now I understand. Anthony just posted the link for our hotel with a pass piece. There it is from the Oasis in Death Valley. Hope you guys can link into it and see it. Again, I'll be speaking in Fort Lauderdale this Saturday and Sunday. Lots of questions to answer. Lots, I'm assuming, that will be asked. And of course, I have a few things to say about a lot of things. So I'll be speaking there. In fact, I'll be speaking twice on the 28th, because in the morning that day, I'll be doing a fireside chat with Phil Rosenthal. You know, the show Everybody Feed Phil, and of course the creator of Everybody Loves Raymond. So I'll be doing that at 10:30 in the morning on Saturday, and then at 12:30 the same day, I'll be doing my talk at the Broward County Convention Center, and then again on Sunday from I think 12:30 to 1:30 in that vicinity. So I hope to see you guys there. Now, a couple of other things. I always try to give you a fun video to look at. This one ran 46 years ago, 1980, hard to believe, about the transcon flights. But see if you notice anything interesting about the video that I'm about to run for you. All right, take a look.
On June 1st, Eastern Airlines will be taking off for New York with Eastern's Transcon, 4 times a day. Only Eastern reserves every single seat in cabin 2 just for discount travelers. For a very low $149 each way on a round trip, you can fly clear across the USA. Just reserve and buy your ticket at least 7 days in advance and stay a Friday night. You'll get full coach service and something more. New York. Eastern's Transcon.
Okay, first of all, what was Eastern Airlines doing flying from LA to New York? They were based in Miami, right? And they were based also in Atlanta. They weren't really based in Atlanta, but you were that was their big hub. Here's the thing. they were just trying to generate revenue on the heavily competitive transcon route that was being operated by American, United, and remember them, TWA. And they put those flights on, they discounted the fares. Guess what happened? American, United, and TWA matched those fares. How long did Eastern Airlines stay in that market? Not long. That was the first interesting thing about it. The second interesting thing about it was the dreaded Friday night stay, right? Those are the discounted fares, but you had to stay over either a Friday or a Saturday night. So it was basically discriminating against business travelers. So what did we do? We came up with the back-to-back ticket, right? So if you had bought a one-way ticket or a round-trip ticket without staying on a Friday night, you'd be at $600 or $700. So what you did instead was you bought one ticket leaving on a Wednesday, let's say, to go to New York, coming back 2 weeks later at $249 round trip or whatever that was. Well, $149 each way, so $290, whatever that was. And then you'd buy a second ticket leaving New York the following Friday, coming back 2 weeks later, staying over a Saturday night as well. And for less than the cost of one round trip ticket with no Friday night stay, you got 2 round trip tickets and you went when you wanted to. By the way, you can still do that. It doesn't violate any airline tariff. It doesn't violate any law or regulation. I do it all the time. It's called beating the airlines at their own game, playing by their rules. It's called the back-to-back ticket. And I remember when I was at NBC, I went on the air and talked about that. And American Airlines went crazy about it. Their lawyers called NBC and said I was misleading the public. I was doing something illegal, which I wasn't. And they demanded that NBC issue a cease and desist to me and to do a correction on the air. NBC came to me and said, "Are you doing something wrong?" I said, "Not only am I not doing something wrong, I can prove it to you." And they said, "Well, would you be willing to meet with American Airlines?" And I said, "Okay, I will." So I flew to Dallas. And by the way, there was no cease and desist to me, and we didn't do any kind of correction. And I walked into a meeting room. I was surrounded by 3 American Airlines executives and 5 of their attorneys. And in their hands, they held all of my travel records for the past 6 months. And they were waving it at me. And they said, "We know exactly what you're doing. And if we find out you're on another back-to-back ticket, we're going to take you off the flight and make you pay full fare." I said, "If you find out, let me tell you the next 6 flights I'm going to be on. I'll also have a camera crew there. And we'll record that about you illegally taking me off a flight on which I paid a ticket under my name, flew as myself on the date and flight number specified on the ticket." Guess what happened? They never showed up. And you know why? Because it wasn't illegal then, and it's not illegal now. Now, many of you have heard about the hidden city ticket or something called skip lagging. That's another story. That does violate an airline contract, and I do not advise that you do it. I'll give you the example of what that is. You want to fly from LA to Dallas, and it's $300, but the airline has a flight to Austin, which stops in Dallas for $180. You pick that flight and get off the plane in Dallas. Well, that doesn't work. The airlines have sophisticated algorithms to know that you didn't complete the flight to Austin, number one. Number two, if you're checking bags, you're in trouble because your bags went to Austin when you got off the plane in Dallas. And number three, when you go to get back on the plane in Dallas to come home, they know you didn't complete the round trip to Austin, they'll take you off the plane. And they should. You didn't complete the flight of contract, the carriage of contract. In the situation I gave you about the back-to-back ticket, of course you did. There's nothing wrong with that. Skip lagging, I'm giving you the red flag. Don't do it. All right? There you go. Let's keep going down and saying hello to some people. Hold on. I'm scrolling. Can I share the final bid for the lunch auction? I believe, I may be wrong here, but we raised nearly $3,000 for charity. It went to Operation USA, which does great work. You should check out their website. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm on the board of that, but these guys have been doing great work. It's the charity that was started by Julie Andrews decades ago. They've done everything from removing landmines in Vietnam to treating those who weren't so lucky with the appropriate prosthetic devices. They're flying relief supplies in every time there's a natural disaster. They're getting airlines to give them thousands of pounds of cargo space to be able to fly those relief supplies in, and well worth it. So check out their website, and we'll do another auction. You know what? We'll do one for this coming summer as well to raise money for Operation USA. And of course, the highest bid gets to go on location with us when we're either doing a television show or recording a radio show. And I know for a fact that the winner had a great time. And we had a great time with her as well. All right. Thank you, Stephen, for that comment. And Gina says, I remember back-to-backs. Well, Gina, they're still going on. They're still going on. So, again, they're legal. They don't violate any rules. But hidden city tickets, not a good idea. Okay. Now, a couple of questions you guys sent in. Mexico has lost control of what is happening. That's from Diane. I explained that earlier in the program. Michael says, we're looking to look at an all-inclusive trip to Puerto Morelos in November before Thanksgiving and flying from Chicago. Should we book now, or is it worth waiting for a certain time to book? Just wondering your thoughts. Well, Mexico is the exception of my Thanksgiving rule because so many Americans have second homes in Mexico. So many Americans vacation there. It is our number one vacation spot in domestic North America, despite what just happened over the weekend. The problem is, normally I would say if you're booking for someplace in Thanksgiving overseas, yeah, book it now. It's discounted. It's going to stay discounted because they don't know from Turkey and all the fictions in Paris. But in Mexico, they do because so many Americans will take off Thanksgiving and go to Mexico. So best advice for you, book it now and before those rates go up. That's the law of supply and demand in Mexico. Okay? Hold on one second. Keep scrolling here. Oh, yeah. One more thing, and I'm going to prove a point to you here with this week's photo of the week. Let's go to it. Now, this was sent in by Keith Harvey. Nice shot, Keith. Lovely colors. And as Keith writes, this photo was taken November 5th. It had to be last year, 2025, in Taormina. That's in Sicily. We love Taormina. I just happened to be walking down a narrow street that opened up to this little restaurant table with a spectacular view. I titled this photo, Dinner and a Show. This restaurant on the cliff was part of a hotel, I think, that was called Relais. There was also a great view of Mount Etna from the table when it wasn't erupting. Now, why do I like this picture? I like this picture not because of the table and the chairs and the two wine glasses turned upside down. That looks like a bad hotel brochure, but I asked Anthony to do me a favor and crop it. Let's see what happens. You like that picture better? Me too. Right? The other one looks like a bad brochure. Sorry, it does. But now I think you can crop this a little bit too, Keith. And now you got the photo that I liked, which becomes our photo of the week. And if you think you have a photo of the week that qualifies that with Keith's, you know what to do. It's photo contest at petergreenberg.com, and we'll put it up there right with Keith's. All right, a couple of other housekeeping notes. Our radio show coming this Saturday from Richmond, Virginia, and the beautiful Virginia Museum of History and Culture. What an amazing museum. Well worth a visit just to Richmond alone, just to see that. 9,000 artifacts. Amazing. Truly amazing. And as I like to say, when you're at that museum, you're not looking at Virginia history, you're looking at American history. So check out our show this coming Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time. It's also streaming live on the web. And of course, it's archived later on. As you know, I'll be heading back to Florida later this week when we leave Monaco and the Forbes Travel Guide Summit here. And we'll see you there at the Broward County Convention Center Saturday and Sunday. And of course, next week, our global travel update from a few little surprise places along, I'm not going to tell you where. I'm not going to tell you where, but it will be within the United States and not on the East Coast or the Southeast as well. So I want to thank you guys for watching. We'll keep you updated on our website as well on what's going on in Mexico. Please follow my advice. You'll find out that it will steer you well. Please follow our advice on the cancellation rates at the airlines. Get those flight apps that I told you about. It will help you way ahead of what the airline's going to tell you. You need to know where the aircraft number is assigned to your flight to figure out whether if the plane even got in or not, because if it didn't get in, you're not leaving. It'll help you even when the weather isn't bad. All right? In the meantime, thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you in Florida, and we'll see you next week from another location somewhere around the world. Thank you, Anthony, for doing the boards there. and we'll see you next week.
Spazio all'interno non gli permette di andare a chiudere la traiettoria, mentre il polacco aveva cercato, poi a sandwich tra Hamilton e Massa riesce comunque a mantenere la sua terza posizione.
Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Colette. Discover the world. Guided travel since 1918.